Okay, so welcome back, and we're going to now look at solving linear equations. Sorry, I should say inequations, not equations, my bad. Sorry, just let me change that quickly. Inequations. All right, now we're looking at the right topic. And again, same date. So when you're doing your notes now, this should just be below the last bit that you just did. Okay, no need to do it on a separate page or anything. Still looking at the same thing, same date. That's all good. Okay, so our first example that we're going to look at is 2x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 11. Now, the first thing I want you to do, whenever you think about an equation, for the most part, the solving is going to be almost exactly the same as what you do for a regular equation. But I think it's always really important to think about it the first. What is one number that would work for this inequation? And that way, when you get your answer, you should get an idea about whether it's right or wrong. So for the first thing, I would think 2x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 11. Now, for that to be greater than or equal to 11, say, for example, x was 5. That means we would have 2 times 5, which is 10. And let's write that underneath. Plus 3, okay, which is 13. And 13 is greater than or equal to 11. So that works as a solution. Okay, so I'm thinking about, firstly, a positive number and something around about, the 5 mark should give you an answer that's about right. Okay, so now when we're solving, again, pretty much the same as solving a regular equation. So you've got 2x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 11. So the first thing you should think about is what is the first thing you need to get rid of in your equation, and you should remember that that's going to be 3 because you're adding that on to the 2x after you've multiplied it by 2. So you're minusing 3 from both sides. Then you've got 2x is greater than or equal to, now 11 minus 3 is 8. So 2x is greater than or equal to 8. And then the last thing we're going to do is then divide that by 2, because that's the opposite of timesing by 2. We can cancel that out on that side. And we're left with x is greater than or equal to 4. Now this works with what we were kind of looking at before, where we subbed in 5. If we'd got negative 4 as an answer, I think we could be fairly confident that that would not be right. And you'll see an example later on about why I think this is so important at the start. Okay, second one, we've got 5x minus 10 is equal to 120. So again, I want you to think about something. Obviously, this is going to be quite a big value of x in this case because we've got to get that equation all the way up to 120. So I'm going to say 5x, and I'm going to say x is 40. Okay, so 5 times 40 is 200. Minus 10 is 190. 190 is bigger than 120. So again, that's good. So any kind of quite large positive values of x in that equation is probably going to be around about the right answer. Okay, so we've got 5x minus 10 is greater than or equal to 120. Now when we're solving, again, we're going to opposite of minusing 10, so we're going to add 10 to both sides. Okay, so we have 5x is greater than or equal to 130. All right, then next, and if you want to use a calculator for this, you can, don't feel bad at all. Okay, you've got 5x is greater than or equal to 130, so we're dividing by 5, opposite of timesing by 5. And then you're left with x is greater than or equal to, now, 130. Divided by 5, 26. Okay, so x is greater than or equal to 26. Now we put in 40 before, and again, that worked. So that's a reasonable solution. Okay, so that should be fine. Last one is just change a little bit. And again, this first step where we sub in a value, this is going to be a little bit trickier. So now we've got negative x plus 4 equals 14. Now, if I said that x was equal to, let's say 12, negative 12 plus 4, that's equal to, now negative 12, if you imagine your number line, there's 0, there's negative 12. Okay, if we're adding 4, we're going 4 places closer to 0. So that's negative 11, negative 10, negative 9, negative 8. Okay, so that's negative 8. Now, negative 8 is definitely not greater than or equal to 14. Okay, But what we can think about, what if our x value wasn't 12, but it was negative 12? Then we would have negative 12 plus 4. Now negative 12, that's like negative 1 times by negative 12, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So we have positive 12 plus 4, so that's equal to 16. Okay, now that solution does work because 16 is greater than or equal to 14. And again, so now we're looking at a negative value, and it should be around about the, the negative 12, 13, 11, 10 kind of mark. Okay, so here I'm going to show you how to solve it, and this is the only case whereby it does get a little bit different. Okay, so we've got negative x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 14. Now the first step is the same. We're still minusing 4 from both sides. Okay, so we still end up with negative x is greater than or equal to 10. Now, because we've got this negative x, okay, obviously if this value was anything bigger than negative 10, say for example negative 9 or negative 8, that's still not going to be greater than or equal to 14. So what we're wanting is a value that's going to be less than or equal to negative 10. So your main rule for solving inequations is that whenever you're dividing by a negative, in this case we're going to divide by negative 1, because we want to get rid of that negative 1 out the front there. Whenever we're dividing by a negative, you flip the way that your inequality goes. Okay, so this is x is greater than or equal to negative 10 over negative 1. Now that's going to be negative 10, because negative as a positive divided by a negative is a negative. And this inequation, instead of being greater than, this now becomes the opposite direction. It goes less than. So x has to be less than or equal to negative 10. And again, this makes sense because negative 12, that value there, this one where we did this here, that is less than negative 10. Okay, hopefully you've done a few of those and that kind of makes sense. Again, the next thing I want you to do is to have a look at the worksheet that is on this document, that one that says Google Forms worksheet. Go through and do that, and then you'll be done for the day other than the prep. Okay, looking forward to seeing you in our Teams meeting on Thursday, and hoping this is all kind of making sense. All good. Okay, bye.